Hello, everyone. This is Gia Jones here with Parent Voices Unfiltered, and we're super excited to have you all watch our episode today here. We have really awesome guests from California Budget and Policy Center. We have Laura and Eric that will be joining us. And our topic today is Advocates Speak. And so we have some really important information to share with all of our parents and community members about what it is in the California budget in addressing families and parents throughout our state. And so, super excited to have them come on. And we hope that you make comments. And if you have any thoughts or feedback throughout our live, please feel free to make it in the comment section. Thank you. Hi, Laura. Hi, Eric.
Hi,
Hello.
Gia. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us today here for Parent Voices Unfiltered. And we're so happy to have the California Budget and Policy Center on. Your center does really great work in advocating and analyzing really important information related to the California budget. And we want to hear from you. So if you would be so kindly to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about your work at the Budget Center and how you're connected to PV.
Sure. So I'll start. As Gia mentioned, my name is Laura. I use she, her pronouns, and I am based out of Oakland, California, and have been at the Budget Center for about 3 months. I joined right before the May revision. And before my time at the Budget Center, I was at a company called Social Policy Research Associates. And before that is when my relationship with Parent Voices started when I was at UC Berkeley in school. I connected with Parent Voices to provide some research support, and that really continued throughout my time at Social Policy Research Associates, supporting PV with their Blue Ribbon Commission contributions, as well as several other reports that we've collaborated on together. And I'm just so happy that this relationship has continued into my role at the Budget Center. Really excited to be here with you all today and talk a bit more about the work that we've all been doing together.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Saucedo. I'm a policy analyst here at the Budget Center, he, him pronouns. I've been at the Budget Center for about 3 years. It's actually my anniversary tomorrow. So it'll be 3 years tomorrow. I joined during COVID. So definitely we had a lot of work in that area during that time. I focus on K-12 education, and I'm also doing a work in the area of early learning and care with Laura. I think that's pretty much it on my end. Back to you, Tia.
Thank you so much, Laura and Eric. Um, we're so happy with the work that you're doing at the California Budget and Policy Center. And so we have some really important things to cover during our Unfiltered live. So please feel free to give us your in-depth understanding of the budget, and we're super excited to have you on. So with the the childcare industry and system, there's been some crucial things that have transpired even within the last few years. And so, just to make mention, like recently, and really trying to stabilize the childcare system, states, different states across the country, including New Mexico and Arizona, have really responded to the high demands of childcare and crucial changes that are needed in the system. Did you want to speak to that? Um,
Sure. Yeah, I can start. And I think I really want to start with the most recent win that Parent Voices, as we know, just led the way with family fee reform. So when I first joined the Budget Center about 3 months ago, I had came across a publication that my former colleague Kristen had done that analyzed how much families were paying in family fees each year, and then also took that amount and broke it down and said, okay, if I'm a mom of two, I spend this amount on family fees. And if I didn't have to spend that amount, I could pay for X number of diapers, X number of months of rent, etc. And Eric also supported that publication too. And knowing that family fee reform was such a huge issue going into this budget cycle and something that Parent Voices really wanted included in this year's budget, we thought, what can we do to support this effort? So we decided that it might be helpful to revamp that publication to use the most recent family fee schedule to have updated amounts around how much families would spend. So taking a step back, family fees were waived, as you know, throughout most of the pandemic, but they were set to return starting October 1st. So if this didn't get in the budget, families would have to spend thousands of dollars on family fees that they weren't having to spend before. So what we did is we collaborated with Parent Voices to do an analysis to say, this is how much parents will have to spend starting October 1st if family fees come back. And then if they didn't have to spend this money on family fees, this is what they could spend it on, whether it be utilities, housing, groceries, and really broke it down. And then Parent Voices, with the support of their communications team, put those into really beautiful social media posts and shared those out via social media to help advocate for this budget ask. And we were just so incredibly delighted and proud to see that family fee reform made it into the budget. So specifically, what's in the budget for family fees is that if you're a family that's below what's called 75% of the state median income, so to put some numbers to that, if I'm a family of four and I make less than $85,000 per year, I no longer have to pay family fees starting October 1st. And in the past, some families were having to pay up to 10% of their income in family fees. But with what's now in the budget, that amount's capped at 1%. So we're saving families, or Parent Voices is saving families thousands of dollars that they can now spend to support their families to thrive and grow. And we're just so happy that passed, and just really want to thank Parent Voices and all of the parents that we were able to work with and highlight in the report that followed up from those social media posts. So again, to take a step back, after those social media posts went out, Eric and I put that story into a report that we can link to as part of this live event that really shows and breaks down how much families are going to save and highlights the stories from Karina from Sonoma, Stevie from Fresno, and Elizabeth from Riverside in terms of how much money they personally are going to save moving forward. So yeah, just wanted to start there and really highlight that big win in the budget and congratulate Parent Voices on that tremendous accomplishment.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. Especially during this vital time with the childcare system, uh, just like the last few years, there have, advocates have paid closer attention to things that are happening for families, providers, in the actual system of the public policies. And so I just, really, I think that's what's really happening for those that are understanding public policies for families in early childhood and, um, I'm sorry, also in education. And so I know also Eric, just a few months ago, also worked on understanding how subsidized childcare providers are paid in California. And, this is like very vital in understanding how to really cultivate a system that's very caring and understanding for families and providers. So, Eric, did you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. I mean, just connecting it back to the work that Laura was mentioning in terms of family fees. I think the piece that you mentioned around how providers are paid, we're really trying to highlight um, just the impact of the economic situation that affects us all, but how it affects providers and also families with the work we did on the or we highlighted related to the to family fees, because inflation has affected all of us. But then when you look closely at how it has affected families and providers, really makes you think about where the state should be making investments. So the piece that you mentioned, we highlighted, what the recent increases to rates had been in recent years, and how those were reflected in terms of the increases to the minimum wage, which is one of the highest costs for providers. And we think that's really important to highlight because, as you know, there are challenges with staffing across the board for many of the services that really help California. And so I think that piece really focused on that in trying to support the broader work that was happening in terms of rate reform, increasing rates for providers that, as we know, have been low due to just decades of underinvestment by policymakers.
Yes. Um, and also, we were also really paying attention to certain things that the parents were also highlighting, understanding the high demand for providers as they're going back to work,
Mhm.
and their schedules are changing, or they have additional baby, and what that means, like in finding the provider that fits their family needs.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what a lot of families have experienced, particularly even like the last several years. And so Parent Voices, we talk about, the relationships that parents have with their providers and how important it is. And so we're really happy with, the work that's moving forward and really addressing those important things for families.
Yeah.
Um, can we talk a little bit more also about like the family fees? Um, I know that it does help a lot of families um, that have additional expenses, and so that it helps like pay for nice extracurricular activities for their kids, or um, extra diapers. Um, what else can the budget speak to about how this is like huge for families in California?
Yeah, I mean, I think the family fees piece, I think one point that's important to share is, in our analysis, while we link the amount that families will save to these basic needs like groceries and diapers, really what we're hearing from parents too is that they can use this funds for extracurriculars and things for their family that's not necessarily basic needs, but it just makes possible so much more to create enriching and really positive experiences for the whole family. And I just wanted to underscore that point. And there's several other things related to early learning and care and childcare that's in the state budget, and happy to pass to Eric to share a few of those points too that we picked up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in addition to family fees, the budget did include an increase in rates for early learning and care providers, and I think the budget included a little bit over $2 billion in one-time dollars for that purpose. And this was all part of the collective bargaining agreement between the state and the Child Care Providers United, the union, CCPU. But in addition to those pieces around rate increases, it also included other things, for example, a retirement fund, ongoing health care, and also a pathway to implement a payment structure that is based on the cost of providing care, which is really, really important moving forward. That's going to be key in future budgets to continue to implement that. In the agreement, there's a timeline included, but then there's so many aspects to that still need to be worked out in future budgets, specifically or especially related to revenues that are needed to make sure that happens. One estimate I heard around a full implementation of an alternative methodology is billions of dollars that are going to be needed to ensure that all providers are paid based on the cost of providing care, to really make a stronger early learning and care system. Because as we know, there are many disparities within the system, which really limit families' access to early learning and care across the state. So if we want to really address those issues, the states needs to be planning for future investments, not only one time but ongoing, and that are predictable, so that childcare providers are able to really sustain and be able to offer the services that families need. I mean, there are other areas too that I can touch on related to transition of kindergarten too, but I'll stop there just to see if there's any other questions related to that.
I know. Exactly. I just wanted to highlight that it is, in fact, a way to really stabilize the childcare system, and that it's helping to bring forth the importance of like understanding the standardized reimbursement rate, and understanding that the overall goal is um, making sure um, you know providers that are providing this important care to our kids are getting that their voices are being heard, and that essentially our kids are receiving um, the important early education that they um, you know that they all deserve, and that we're actually that they're actually ahead of the curve. And so I think parents are really happy to understand this, that advocates are working really hard um, to really stabilize this, and it's on its way. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll second that comment around just the rate increases, that they, they they didn't happen for no reason. There was a lot of advocacy. We talked to advocacy partners around the work that they've been doing, both within the union and outside the union. I'm sure a lot of the audience saw or were even part of the rally that happened a couple months ago, I think it was, where there was a really strong push to make sure that the increases were included in the budget. So definitely, advocates have done a lot of work throughout the budget season and even before, and it's ongoing. So I really want to give a shout out to all of them for all the work that they've done to make sure that this increase happened. But also remember that it's a one-time increase, and that additional investments from the state are going to be needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what we're hearing is it's a down payment, and that ongoing commitment to making sure providers are paid a fair and just wage is what we're looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Um, Also, I know we've been paying a close, attention to the early childhood education and provider rates. Um, does the budget center have any other budget priorities that we should also have on our radar, or that we know that the governor is really, making sure additional support um, is received for families?
Yeah, I mean, let me first I'll touch a little bit on one other aspect related to early learning and care, and then we'll come back to other areas within the budget that are that are intended to support families, especially low income families. I mean, the other thing that's big in the budget is the continued expansion of transitional kindergarten, which in the following year, the main investment there is going to be for enrollment growth. And it'll expand to about 42,000 new children, the ones who are now going to be eligible to enroll in TK. And as you remember, the program is moving to a universal program in 2025. So they're rolling it out every year until 2025. So what that means is just expanding age eligibility by a few months every budget year, and making the investments needed there. And I guess the one comment I wanted to make there is that just reminding families that TK is a choice. Families have access to several programs, and TK expands those opportunities for families that choose to enroll their kids in a school district based program. But also remember that there are options. And actually wanted to comment that we have an upcoming report where we lay out the various programs that are available, eligibility, and also engage in a discussion around what else is needed to strengthen the entire system, not just one program or another. That report will be available sometime next month. So we'll make sure to share that with you, so you can share with the audience. And I was actually curious to just not sure who's in the audience, but if there are parents, caregivers who have kids who are 4-year-olds, wanted to just see like what their thoughts are on transitional kindergarten. So not sure how you're all engaging, but if there's a chat somewhere, if you wanted to just share, and Gia at the end will share with us, what the audience is saying. Just curious to hear from you, like what are your thoughts on transitional kindergarten? Are you choosing that program? Why not? What are you thinking about it? What do you know about it? So we're curious to hear from parents what they're thinking around that program.
Yeah, especially too, going back to family fees, now that families below 75% of the state median income will have all family fees waived. If I'm a mom of a 4-year-old, I have the option of having access to, for free, transitional kindergarten based at a school, the California State Preschool Program, a family childcare provider through CalWorks, or the Alternative Payment Program. There's just a lot of options that parents can provide, and we know that children develop at different speeds, and families know what's best for their children. And just with how the system is developing, there's going to be so many options for families, and it can be challenging to know how to navigate that, what's best for your family. And just wanted to put another plug in for the piece that Eric mentioned that really lays out where our state's investing in these options, and where we can do better with developing a system that fully supports all of the programs that can best meet what parents know are best for their children.
Yes, that brings up a very important comment that I wanted to make. Um, I just wanted to say, like, I actually have 5-year-old twins, and
Oh.
so yeah, so I in understanding some of the implementation of certain things for the education system, I'm actually really excited to know that there will be more funding for bilingual um,
Mhm.
teachers in particular settings because that's actually important for me and my family. My kids don't particularly speak Spanish, but I think that it's actually really wonderful, and I would actually like them to be in a more bilingual setting. And so I think that's wonderful work. So I'm excited to hear that for families. And I'm trying to see if there's more comments. I'm not quite able to access the comments now, but um, I think that's great for families to know that there will be more access to teachers that understand the needs of our families and children throughout California.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a super important aspect to early learning in terms of we have so many, in addition to for example, you in your case, like you would like your children to be bilingual, biliterate, and there are all children who are growing also in bilingual homes, multilingual homes. So what in the field is called dual language learners. So that's a very important aspect to
Mhm.
support in so many ways. But then having teachers that are able to support the development of another language, of a language other than English, is super
Mhm.
important. Um, not only in the future, but also now kids, learning two different languages and supporting not only the student but also the family and trying in becoming bilingual, multilingual, and really supporting the development of that. So that's a really important aspect.
Mhm. And do you remember the figure off the top of your head for the bilingual teacher development program? Was it 20 million?
I think it's around 20
Yeah, I
million.
think
Yeah.
20 million in the state budget, and that's for K-12 education. And I think, to your point, Gia, it's also important to note that with the expansion of transitional kindergarten, to really understand who those teachers are and what assets that we know family childcare providers also bring when it comes to um, supporting a bilingual education. We know family childcare providers are primarily women of color. Over half speak a language other than English. And we know that the transitional kindergarten workforce early data shows it's not quite as diverse. So as families are choosing what's most important for them, making sure that we have a workforce that is compensated for the incredible work that they do across all different programs is important given those assets that everyone brings across the various programs.
I completely agree. So that's really great to hear. That's actually in the budget as well.
Mhm.
Are there any other important priorities that we should be aware of, or the viewers could be more aware of if they're not quite aware of the funding that will be going to different programs?
I mean, related to early learning, I think I guess we can call it a missed opportunity is the delay childcare slots that were planned to be expanded in 23, 24. So those slots are now delayed to 24, 25.
Mhm.
So that's definitely a missed opportunity that, slots are still needed, and there's no reason to delay those. But the our state leaders decided to delay those. So now those 20,000 won't be available in 23, 24. We'll have to wait until
Mhm.
24, 24, 25, in the hope that those will come back and be expanded in that year.
Yes, definitely. Parent Voices were definitely about the childcare slots. And
Mhm.
so we want our families having access to the childcare that's needed. And so we'll continue to really advocate for those slots for our families. Um, what is there any other things? I know that we talked about some really important things related to some of our top budget priorities. Is there any other things that we should think about as well?
Yeah, I wanted to also take a step back and provide a bit of a broader overview of what happened with the budget this year, just to give you all a sense of what the outlook is looking like for this year's budget. So, just to put some numbers on it, the enacted budget for 2023-24 included 225.9 billion in the general fund, and this is down from what was 234.6 billion in from last year. So the amount of spending for this budget year is less than what was in last year, which reflects this trend that we're seeing of being what's called in a deficit year, where we actually have about 30 billion in deficit for this budget year, which decision makers were able to address by moving money around and doing other types of manipulations to balance the budget. But it's important to note that despite the fact that we are in this deficit year, policymakers did avoid cuts to critical services. But I think what it points to is that we do need additional sources of revenue. So, new ways of bringing in streams of money. Um, and one way that we've talked about at the Budget Center of bringing in more of these revenue streams is by making tax policy changes to our tax system more fair. So we know back in April, the Senate proposed a plan to restructure corporate taxes, and that could have generated several billions of dollars in investment. So basically, putting a higher tax on corporations that make, I believe it was over 2 million a year in profit. So we're talking about the big companies in California. And that would have generated billions of dollars that could have been used to make investments in communities in things like rate reform for providers. There wasn't a lot of political appetite to move that corporate tax restructuring forward, but we're hoping in the coming years, there will be opportunity for some of this tax reform. I know it's not the most exciting topic to talk about taxes, but I think it's important to think about, how we can make sure that the state has the dollars they need to invest in our communities and our families. So just wanted to mention that broad level overview, and I can pass to Eric to share a few other key points in the budget that specifically support California families. But we can also pause there, Gia, in case there's any follow up on that overview piece.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Yes, Eric, if you would like to talk further about.
Sure. Yeah, I'll share just a few things here in the area of safety net, health, and tax credit. And I'm gonna put in a plug right here for a resource that we have on our site that was published a few weeks ago, which is called the 23-24 California State Budget Explained. So some of the things that we're mentioning today are there. If anyone needs a few more details related to any of the things that we mentioned, or maybe you're taking notes, so that resource is going to be is also available. So just getting back to some of the areas that I mentioned in terms of safety net, the budget includes a 10% increase to the California Work Opportunity and Responsibility to Kids, or CalWORKS program grant, and this increase was set to expire in 23-24. So having that increase is super important in this budget. And then related to food assistance, the budget allocates nearly 50 billion sorry, 50 million with an M, to phase in a summer electronic benefit transfer or EBT program for children who qualify for free and reduced price meals. So that's all related to safety net. And then, sorry, one more thing on safety net. The budget also moves the expansion of the California Food Assistance Program to October 2025. And this expansion is going to extend benefits to undocumented adults over the age of 55. Now moving into health, and specifically access to Medi-Cal, the budget does maintain a commitment to expand full scope Medi-Cal eligibility to Californians who are undocumented between the ages of 26 and 49. And that would start in January 2024. Um, so this builds on previous steps that were taken in past budgets to expand medical coverage to undocumented Californians. So in previous budgets, it was extended to those who up to the age of 25 and also those over the age of 50. So this expansion to include everyone is super important in the state to provide medical access to those Californians, and super important. And then lastly, in the area of tax credits, the what's included in the budget is a clarification that recipients of the foster youth tax credit cannot have their tax refund intercepted for debt payments. And this is super important, and it will provide critical relief for low income foster youth once this provision goes into effect. Um, but there's a lot more work to do in that area to strengthen and expand California's refundable tax credits. And one example, we have several on the publication, but I just pulled one, is to increase the minimum California earned income tax credit to provide a more meaningful credit to workers with low incomes. So I mentioned all of these important provisions included in the budget because it's super important to families who are low income, families who are undocumented. So this means that we're taking steps forward to ensure that families have access to the services that they need. And what Laura mentioned in terms of thinking of ways to increase revenues to be able to expand all of these programs is important also moving forward. So that conversation, I'm sure, will continue to come back to ensure that in future budgets, when we have a deficit, that we're able to sustain the programs and even expand them.
Mhm.
I know. Thank you so much. Because I know, throughout the I guess actually the last several years, some families have have had a little bit more difficulties, like during the pandemic,
Oh,
as far
yes.
as work, and
Yeah.
so a lot of us are back at work, back in the office,
Mhm.
and so we want to hear all these really great things about our families staying healthy, having access to affordable and quality childcare, and that we are all, pushing forward and understanding really wonderful things for our families, advocates, parents in California. It's really critical at this time that we're paying attention to these things.
Mhm.
Um, And so I have so much more. I had more questions and things to share, but I did want to also mention, throughout the past several months and year, Parent Voices, we've been attending hearings.
Mhm.
We've had the Day Without Childcare. We had our
Mhm.
Stand for Children's Day. Um, and talk with some lawmakers and also advocates and community members. And these things are really important that our parents and families have access to, um, you know, a sense of support
Mhm.
and addressing their needs across the state. And so I just wanted to really highlight and tell our parents and families and providers, thank you so much for all of your hard work. And we know that there's more for us to continue to work on, and that we're so we're happy that y'all have been really involved in helping push forward really important public policies that help our families thrive. And then also, we want to give a nice shout out to Jennifer Greppy, who also one of Parent Voices members and director of parent policies. She recently got to visit the White House, and that she talked about our campaign about the family fees and how huge this is for parent voices and our parents. And so we just want to say thank you, Jennifer, for all your wonderful work. You and Mary are so wonderful, and super happy to see you all doing great work for our families.
Mhm.
And of course, Eric and Laura, we thank you so much. You are so awesome and very insightful, and we're happy to understand a little bit more about the budget. I know most, parents may not know exactly the logistics of analyzing the budget, but you really are helping us to understand a little bit more about what it takes to really pass the budget, and also what it means for our families moving forward the next year. So thank you so much for coming on our Parent Voices Unfiltered. Are there yes,
I wanted to
Eric?
put in another plug for another resource, or other resources that we have on our website. Not only do we have just specific analysis on a specific issue area, but we also have publications that talk about the budget process. We have a glossary that one of our colleagues put together, or talk about budget terms that may be confusing. So he did a great job of providing simple definitions for complex words, or I guess not complex, like words that are included in the budget that are not as accessible. So I think definitely visit our website. We have a bunch of resources there that I think would be useful for your audience members, and other, and just any advocates that are looking for any information around the budget. We have resources there that you can review. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Our contact info is also on the page. You can contact any of us, and if we can answer the question, we'll redirect you to the right analyst or the right person here at the Budget Center.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really just wanted to extend the kudos to Jennifer, Mary, Blake, and the Parent Voices team. In addition to analyzing the state budget, we produce research and analysis that we hope is important for California's families. And our work is only meaningful and important, so much so that it's grounded in what parents and families are experiencing. So, us being able to work so collaboratively with the Parent Voices team has really been tremendous for us in us producing work that is meaningful and reflective of lived experiences. And so, just thank you again to the Parent Voices team for being open to collaborating and supporting us through that process. It's really been just a great experience on both ends, hopefully.
Yes,
Second.
yeah, I know. Thank you so much for all your work. And I really love talking with the California Budget and Policy Center. So hopefully we can have you on again. And please be sure to tell Adriana I said
Of course.
hello.
Yes.
She's awesome. And then I just wanted to also just mention uh, Real Life with Gia. I also have a column. And so just be sure to check out the latest from me as an advocate, I also, um, work in public policies, but I also have a family. And so I try to have fun too. It's very important. Advocates have fun. So enjoying the nice summer weather and vacation with me and my family. So you can go on Parent Voices website and read the latest about summer planning, family fun, and less stress. So I just wanted to say that. And if you all have any other comments, I will be also be on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook today. And I will be sure to also link California Budget in, and you can continue to ask them any questions about our episode today. And we're super excited to talk with you all further. Um, if there's not anything else, any other comments?
Nope, just looking forward to future collaborations and continuing to work alongside Parent Voices.
Thank you so much. So I'm Gia Jones. This is Parent Voices Unfiltered. And until next time, take care.
Thank you, Gia.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.